The 2024 NFL Draft is going down this week. That's right, this Thursday. And I couldn't be more excited to see what the San Francisco 49ers are going to do. I know you can't too. We're going to talk about it right here on the WayneBreezie Show. Stick around because we're going to focus on the 49ers offensive NFL draft prospects. My top 5 in just about every category on the offensive side. Let's get right to it, baby.
So bright that we shine. All we do is the Niners. Ready, go, let us find us. So faithful to the bay. I be sipping gold bar, whiskey on the rocks, and a 24-karat gold on a watch. My 7-1 Chevy be tipping non-stop, sounding like Trent Williams on the block. So you know we can't stop, we be banging through your speakers. WayneBreezie on the field or in the bleachers. You can tune into my show and I'm a teacher. WayneBreezie, the 49 preacher. We so bright that we shine it.
What's going on, 49er faithful? Woo! It is Monday. Officially, we are back. The WayneBreezie Show is here. We always going to try to be here every Monday for you guys. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Shout out to the Breezy Bunch crew. Round of applause to them out there as well. Gotta start the show off with my man Colin. What's going on all the way from the UK? 11 months. You get that touchdown sound. You get the fall corn. 11 months. That's a long time. It's almost a full year. Appreciate your support and everything that you do. Shout out to all the members of the Breezy Bunch crew as well. Listen, speaking of the Breezy Bunch crew, go ahead and join the Breezy Bunch crew right now. Just click on that join button. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and click on that subscribe button if this is your first time here. And don't forget, most importantly, hit that daggone like button. Let's show some members some love. We'll get into the show. 49er Jeff in the building. What's going on, baby? Let's go. Draft week is here. Yes, it is, bro. I can't wait to get down to it, man, because the Niners going to get down to the nitty gritty. I can't wait to see what their war room is going to look like. I'm sure it's going to be crazy. I can't wait to see. I wish we could see what their big board look like, but I know it's going to be difficult. But, hey, I know the Niners are going to find ways to improve their team in 2024 and so forth. So I'm looking forward to a great draft for the San Francisco 49ers. 49ers _ throwback. Good morning. Happy draft week. Now make sure to smash that like button. That's right, man. Smash that like button. And shout out to Fernando for being a great moderator out there, man. I appreciate you and all your hard work and contributions that you do for the 49ers community, as well as myself, WayneBreezie, man. I appreciate you, man. Hey, Dawn, I see you out there. JP Hella Hard, 2800 in the building. Good morning to you. Did I text you back this morning? I believe I did. Good morning to you as well. Peachy's doing a great job as well. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Make sure you smash that like button. Please smash that like button. Subscribe. And if you love the experience, go ahead and join the Breezy Bunch crew. Oscar, what's going on, baby? Oh, what's going on? My man Manly's in the building. Ronnie33. Rob D's in the building. Vince is in the building. Tanisha, good morning, Breezy in the chat. What's going on? I'll make sure I show everybody some love. What's going on, Nick? My brother Nick. Good, bro. Where you been, man? You been hiding out. What's going on, Lake City? Good to see you, man. Good to see you guys for sure. All right, look, man. I want to do something kind of cool today. I'm going to go over some of my top prospects. It's weird because I have them typed up, and I decided that I want to go back to the good old scribing days. I want to go back to writing stuff down. I can't read my handwriting, but it just gives it so much more validation when it's handwritten. You know what I mean? I don't know what I'm saying, but yeah, but I can read. Hopefully I can read my handwriting on today's show. Jax is in the building. Don't Bother Me is in the building. So we're only focusing on the defensive of the offensive side today. Wednesday, we'll talk about the defensive side. That's why D-line wasn't an option. So in the poll question, there's a poll question going on. You know what I mean? My brother Bruce is in the building. Shout for the Celtics. That's right. They want to know, man. Shout out to the Celtics, man. They get the horn. They ate the air horns. All right, so I want to do something fun today. I want to talk about this hypothetical trade for Brandon Aiyuk because it's I don't let me make myself clear. Okay, let me make myself clear. I don't think that the San Francisco 49ers are going to trade Brandon Aiyuk. I don't think it. I don't believe that they want to do it. I don't think any of that. Trust me. Good morning, Miss Debbie. I don't think any of that. I don't think that that's going to happen in any kind of way whatsoever. Okay? I don't. But if there's a team, like I said, and I've been saying this, if there's a team that decides to offer the 49ers a deal that they can't refuse, meaning a top 10 draft pick, I hypothetically, I was putting out there the only way I would trade Brandon Aiyuk is if you get a top 10 pick. That's it. That's the only way. That's the only way he moves. Other than that, they own his rights. Brandon Aiyuk will have to play on his 5th-year option. They can tag him for the next 2 years. So technically, they own his rights for the next 3 years. I don't think it's going to be pretty, but it is what it is. But there was a hypothetical trade that came out from an ESPN analyst. We're going to break that down, and we're going to kind of like take a look at that. I want to try to do no mock draft today, but we will bring up the mock draft simulator. I want to show you a couple of things as far as examples. I want to try that hypothetical trade, see if we can get it to work, and see who we would, because if you trade Brandon Aiyuk for a top 5 pick, you better get one of the top 2 receivers, top 3 in this draft. They're like, and top 2. I'm sorry, like you either get Marvin Harrison Jr. or you're gonna get Malik Neighbors. Like if you trade Brandon Aiyuk and you move up that far, that I am comfortable with replacing with a wide receiver because I think those guys will be ready to go. And I'm probably the only one, and this is not a shot at my Ohio State family, the friends and family out there. This is not a shot at that. There's something about Malik that I like that makes him stand out a little bit more than Marvin Harrison Jr. I think Malik runs that route tree. I think he could play all 3 of the wide receiver positions, whereas I think Marvin Harrison would just be a dominant X receiver in the league for years to come. Like for the next decade or so. So I don't know. I just got my faves. I like Malik, but they're really close. I mean, it's just preference, right? It's like I don't think anyone is better than the other. I think it's come down to preference. So if I'm the Niners, I probably would draft Malik Neighbors because he reminds me of what Brandon Aiyuk does. Like he can do the things, he can run the routes, he can stop and go. He has that type of ability with speed out there, to be the X receiver. So just a little tidbit. So yeah, let's have some fun today. I hope you guys are ready for a great week, man. Thursday the draft is going down. It's definitely going down, and I can't wait. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I literally can't wait because I want to see everybody's faces when the draft goes down, and the Niners are on the clock around 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right? And they draft somebody we had no idea. Like, and now I did my due diligence in making everybody aware of just about everybody. So if you see or hear a name, you can say at least WayneBreezie talked about this particular player. I try to cover every position. Only positions we didn't cover was punters, kickers, and quarterbacks. Because if the Niners draft any of those in the first round, I probably will just join another fan base. Like at that, like I don't think that they are going to go that route. All right, I'm just saying that's just my little tidbit on there. I just I wanted to do a quick shout out to the listeners over on Spotify as well as Apple Podcast, and right here on YouTube Podcast. We have the podcast, the show, the podcast as well here. But I just want to appreciate everybody that signed up and that listens to it, and continue to do that and continue to help push this podcast to the top of the list. The regular schedule will be back once the season gets underway. But I do appreciate the listeners, the feedback, the comments, the participation, the polls, all the stuff that you guys are doing out there. I appreciate you guys as well, and continue to follow me on these various websites, X, as well as Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Facebook, all at the WayneBreezie. Now listen, this is what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to do a giveaway. I'm going to do a draft cap giveaway. Okay. Now here's how to enter this giveaway. Now, if you don't know, I do exclusive content on the Patreon. I do exclusive stuff here as well, but the exclusive stuff on the Patreon is a little different. All right. So if you want to enter this giveaway, and I don't have it written up, I'm going to just say it. So here's how you enter. all you got to do is go to www.patreon.com/the WayneBreezie and join the minimum tier of $5. Like that tier, that $5 tier. You become a member of at least that tier. That way you unlock all the exclusive, the content, the extra content that I'm putting up there as well. All right. Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to do a mock draft simulator giveaway. All right. Shout out to my boy Steven. He came up with this idea. We're going to do something with the B.A.M show as well, myself and Mike. We're going to make it a little bit different. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give away a draft day cap. It's going to be the snapback cap. All right, because I ain't got time to be dealing with people in their head sizes. People can fit the snapbacks. You just adjust it. Okay. Now, how do you enter the giveaway? It's simple. All you got to do is become a member of that. Now, I'll know if you become a member because I can see. Now, to enter this, you're going to post right here on the YouTube channel. So this is going to be really cool. So I'm going to show you what I mean by this particular giveaway. All right, you ready? Here we go. So I'm going to share this mock draft simulator. We're going to have some fun today. You can use any mock draft simulator that you want. I like using walkthemock.com. It's just so cool, fancy, but you can't trade players. So if you do want to trade players, you're going to want to use the PFF mock draft simulator. If you want to, trade a player in this particular thing. All right, here we go. You ready? All right. So all you do is go to the mock draft simulator. You click on the simulator. It's super simple. We've been doing this all day. You're going to select one round. All right. If you want, I think the trick is to put it on like almost slow. All right. Almost slow. Select your team. And all you got to do now, if you want to make the trade, you want to trade now, you can go ahead and do that. We're going to practice this because we're going to look at this. And then once you finish, once you get, and let me just do this real quick. I'm going to put it on fast just for purposes. No trades for me. I just want to give you guys an example. I'm on the clock for the San Francisco 49ers. And so you're going to pick who do you think the 49ers are going to draft only in the first round. So all you got to do is pick the player you think that the Niners are going to draft in the first round. All right. I'm going to go Cooper DeJean because he's standing right there in front of my face. And then all you do is you download this image and then you're going to upload the image to the YouTube channel. All right, you can upload the image to the YouTube channel. Now, when you upload that image on your cell phones, you could put, you can write on the picture or whatever or whatnot. But I'll see your name as well when you upload it, and I'm gonna create that. Now, the cutoff is going to be Thursday morning, which is draft day. So I'm gonna cut this off on draft day. You got to get this entered in on the draft day. All right. And the person that gets it right, whoever posted it up first, and they get the name right, will win the draft day cap. All right. So that's what we're going to do as far as the giveaway. Now we're going to keep this open because we're going to do something with this. But I do want to talk about my man Bill, who came up with this crazy hypothetical trade about from ESPN, hypothetical trade. Now he said Brandon Aiyuk and the 94th pick for Chargers first round pick, which is the 5th pick, and pick 181. Now, before he even mentioned this, I was playing around with the 49ers can trade Brandon Aiyuk. I was thinking about the Patriots, the Giants, because if they're going to move on from Brandon Aiyuk, it's got to be for a top receiver to me in this draft. So we're going to reset this mock draft simulator, right? And we're going to see if we can get this trade to actually go down. All right. So let's just do a quick 3-round. And the reason why I say 3 rounds is because the 49ers want to get as many players as they can get on their roster that are top 100 players, right? So after round 3, you fall out of that top 100 kind of like ranking. All right. So we're going to select the 49ers. We're going to enter this and we're going to go ahead and we're going to try this, and we're going to select the Chargers. We're going to offer up Brandon Aiyuk. We're going to ask for their pick. Now, they're willing to give up the 5th pick. All right. So it said pick 181, and we had to give up pick 94. In real time, I get it. So we're going to do it his hypothetical way. But in this particular mock draft simulator, Like, you didn't have to give up anything. You could have even probably got 69 out of this, and it probably would have worked, right? And you can see that most of it says this trade will likely be accepted. But we're gonna rock out like this. We're gonna give up Brandon Aiyuk and our 3rd round pick, which sucks because now we don't pick in the 3rd round. All right, so let's just see how this pans out, and let's just see who will be available for the San Francisco 49ers. They'll have 2 first-round picks, and they'll have their 2nd round pick, which is at the end of the 2nd round. Okay, now they could always move back up into the 3rd round. All right, there's ways. Now we're gonna start we're gonna offer this trade, see if they accept it. Boom. So this is the hypothetical trade from Bill Barnwell from ESPN. He came up with this idea. Okay, so let's just play around with this for a little bit. White button breezy. I don't know what that means. Do I got to hit a white button? And you guys got some good questions out there. So let me check out some of these questions before I continue to go with this. What happens is I change off of the screen, and so I can't see. So Omar 6029 says, you don't think Commanders could be in contention in trading for Aiyuk with Adam Peters being there and them being mocked to draft Aiyuk's college quarterback in Jaden Daniels? It's a good question. It's just weird to me because I feel like, so you're gonna get a lower pick. You're not gonna get the 2nd pick from the Commanders if you do this. You'll end up with a lower tier pick from Washington. So I don't know. I don't know if I think Adam Peters would be in on it, but I don't know if the 49ers, I don't know if that deal would blow them away. Like, it has to be a deal that's going to blow them away. And again, if you're not getting a top 10 pick for Brandon Aiyuk, I wouldn't do it. I know Brandon Aiyuk was pick 21, 25, something like that. Pick 20. He was in the 20s, but he's definitely on his way to becoming an all-pro, Pro Bowler for sure. I just don't think, what's going on, Uncle Scott? I just don't think that, I don't know. I just don't think that, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. I don't think the Niners, I don't think the Commanders would give the Niners enough. He was picked 25. Thank you, Kali. I don't think the Niners would get a deal, that's an offer that's going to blow them away. But I'm sure Adam Peters would try. Like, you know what I mean? Would try for sure. Just hold on one second. So let's see. That's a good question. Let me hold on to that question. I just don't think that here's my answer. I don't think the Commanders would give up enough that would make the Niners want to do something like that, because they won't have that top 10 pick. So we're going to stick with the top 10 pick. All right. Let me just blow this up a little bit so y'all can see it better. All right, here we go. Let's start this draft. And Marvin Harrison went to and so this is the cool thing, right? So Caleb Williams went 1, Jada Daniels went 2, Drake May went 3, just like planned. Marvin Harrison went 4, just like planned. I expect him to be the first wide receiver off the board. And what if Malik Neighbors is the Niners guy, or Roman Dunze? So if I talked about these 2 wide receivers, they're different, right? They're different. I think Roman Dunze has the speed as an X. I think he's only an X. I don't see him being a Y. I definitely don't see him being a flanker or the Z, whatever you want to call it now. I don't see him being a slot guy. He's a guy that lines up on the outside that can beat you with speed and jump balls, right? He has the body frame, a big body frame that most people would adore, but does that fit the Niners? That's the question. Is that going to fit the 49ers? Malik Neighbors is like Brandon Aiyuk. I swear this is the Brandon Aiyuk of the draft. Him and Brian Thomas Jr. I feel you can line them up anywhere. And they could just do things I'm glad. And so this is who the 49ers should take. If they trade up, they take Malik Neighbors, bam, 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 thank you, man. And then they take that 31st pick and they really try to focus back. and they may even trade down to gain capital because they already got a first round pick. And so, like, this is what I'm saying. Like, the Niners have so many different options that they can do. It's hard for me, ladies and gents, to trade down. I'm looking at Jerzon Johnny Newton staring me right in the face at pick 31. And I know that the Niners don't necessarily need a defensive tackle for 2024, but let's talk about 2025, 2026. When you have this guy, it's not like they're reaching to get him. He's literally slapping him in the face. They got their wide receiver for the next 5 years, okay? They ain't got to worry about wide receiver money. That's great because now you still can utilize Deebo Samuel and you still have him as your weapon. And it's just so many different things that the Niners can do. This is not really a mock draft show, but we have to entertain this. I can't move too far back, not in PFF. Because in PFF, if you move too far back, okay, you're going to miss out on one of them tackles. So I'm just curious to see if I give up 31 to 35, can I get 66? No. 71? No. 90 is a 50% chance I can get 90. My original pick was 95. There are other teams I can trade with, but I'm not trying to move too far back. So 5 spots, 1, 2, 3, 4 spots. We can try with here are the teams that are that are interested in this pick. I don't want to move anywhere in the 40s. You're going to miss out on an offensive lineman. The Niners need to address the offensive line. We'll talk about those positions in a second. So the Niners definitely need to address the offensive line. So I'm trying to trade with the Cardinals. I know that's going to be unrealistic because I don't think the Cardinals are going to trade with the San Francisco 49ers. But I'm looking at these tackles. They're all gone. Joe Alt was first. Alamiwa Fashanu is gone. Talisi Fuaga is gone. J.C. Latham is gone. Troy Fautanu is gone. Graham Barton is gone. Tyler Guyton is gone. Amarius Mims is gone. Jordan Morgan. The Bills reached up and grabbed Jordan Morgan. And so when I look and see who's available, I'm going to try to see if I'm going to offer the trade. See what happens. They'll probably, they accepted the trade. They accepted the trade. So the Cardinals are going to get another first round pick. And then the San Francisco 49ers now got back a third rounder. Okay. Which means they'll still be picking at 90. They'll still be getting a top 100 player. And they only moved back a couple of slots. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of like this. They didn't move back too far, 4 slots back. And let's see. All right. So we got a receiver. We weren't worried about a receiver. They ended up taking Chop Robinson. Guys, this dude is still standing in front of our face. This is tough. Y'all acting like I'm looking at Jerzon Newton and I'm saying to myself, my gosh, why can't I pick 35 and 36? All right, so if I did that, I'm definitely looking to get one of these tackles. And the question is, am I going to get Kingsley or do I go up and do I get Rosengarten? Both can play right tackle. Kingsley, I think this is tough. So it's Kingsley, Rosengarten. Patrick Paul is there. I know Kieran is there from Yale as well. He has better grades, but again, left tackle prospect. I think I would draft Kingsley here, and now the Niners have their guys, and now we're into that second round, the end of the second round, and they'll be drafting at the end of the third round. And the Niners, I think, would have some serious picks. They got the receiver. And I'm looking at TJ Tampa right now, and I think you can get your corner here. You can get an interior guy here. So if Jerzon Newton is finally gone, you can get an interior guy. Brandon Dorless, Rook Horo is there. Excuse me. Brandon Dorless is staring me right in the face. This is tough. But I think the Niners can get their cornerback here. Which they really don't draft corners in the second round. They kind of want to. I think they, don't be surprised if the Niners stay in the trenches, okay, and they just stay in the trenches, right? They got a wide receiver, they got a weapon, and then they address the trenches on the offensive side. They address the trenches on the defensive side. It's tough. I'm gonna go or horror here, and then I think the Niners would try to get some type of edge in the third. So now that they're back in the third, so they can draft an edge. They can go corner for the San Francisco 49ers. It's going to, like I said, it's going to be a super interesting draft, right? Because I think there's corner value everywhere. I see DJ James done fell down. DeCamerion Richardson is there. Those are Niner cornerbacks. Niners typically don't address the cornerback position early. Like, unless they can, like they just don't. And so, like I said, I think they go with another kind of like premier position. So it'll be edge rusher, in my opinion, at this position. If they see one, I like Braylon Trice. I like Austin Booker is there from Kansas as well. So this can be what the first 3 rounds look like if, and this is hypothetical. Okay, this is hypothetical. And I know that the Niners have other needs, but the Niners don't necessarily address, like, we didn't. Okay, hear me out, right? Because I see some of your questions here and I'm looking at them. And so just hear me out. Anthony says, I think the biggest problem is tight end 2 and center. And like, I won't ever disagree with you, but the Niners have a type. Right? The Niners have a type. And so for the San Francisco 49ers, Prime Sports Media, what's going on? The Niners have a type. And so, like, I don't feel like the Niners are, let's just make it clear. None of us knew we were going to draft George Kittle in the 5th round. And none of us knew that George Kittle was going to blossom. I'm almost okay to trust the 49ers drafting tight ends. It's like we got 2 on the books. I think they get 1 more. The question is where in this draft. And so it's so interesting. Like, you know, George Kittle, they got the 2 guys that they drafted last year, Braylon Willis and Cameron Latou. They got a bunch of veterans in there that are going to come out and compete. And then I think they get 1 more guy. The thing is, I just don't know if they'll draft a tight end high or early, because they know that they can get value at the tight end position in later rounds, like whether you get a Tanner McLaughlin or you get a Jared Wiley or some of those guys that I think would be around, a Tip Raymond from Illinois. Like, there's so many different types of tight ends. And what do the Niners want from their tight ends? They want them to be able to block. So now you're looking specifically at which ones are good in run blocking and things like that and can still catch the ball. So it's so many different areas. So yeah, do I think they need a tight end that can be a tight end 2? Yeah, but what if they draft one, or what if they have tight end 2 already on their roster and they're just waiting for him to develop? So tight end is like is a position I think they could play around with a little bit. The reason why I think that the reason why I went the way I went is because I went and I addressed those positions that you need to hit the nail on the head, right, in the first 3 rounds, right? You know, because, for example, again, the Niners got an all-pro tight end in round 5. And so I'm just saying, like, they may have another all-pro tight end on their roster if they allow that tight end to somehow develop, and they've made room because they didn't bring back some free agents and they made some room. So hopefully these new tight ends will develop, and I think they'll still draft a tight end. Vince, I wanted to go Johnny so bad, but I know we needed an offensive lineman, but Johnny Newton was staring me right in the face. Oscar says, I still think they go Jatavian. Jatavian Sanders would be an excellent weapon to pair up, and we're going to talk about, because he's in my top 5, so we'll talk about him a little bit. So I do agree. I agree that tight ends are needed. What's going on, Isaiah? What's going on, fam? He says, question, how many times have the Niners picked players that you wanted, and or would you have drafted them? All right, so since I started doing like my analysis and stuff on players probably a couple of years ago, Trey Lance was one. Who was the other one? The 2 safeties that we got, Jair Brown from last year was the one that I want. Oh, Jake Moody was another person. And Ronnie Bell, because I have the video saying that I wanted the 49ers to draft him at the Senior Bowl. And the Talanoa Hufanga. So I think Hufanga was the year I really started doing the draft stuff, if I'm not mistaken, like 4 years ago. So like that's kind of like when I started getting into the draft analysis and stuff like that. So I would say those are the players, you know. For me, those are the players that I was able to pick out. Everybody else I was probably wrong on, but those are some of the players that I had the Niners drafting. And some of the players that the 49ers drafted, I had no idea who they were until after the draft, and then I did my research. All right, so Oscar says, Breezy, hear me out and consider this. Oh man, I just had this conversation this morning. If ownership believes in Purdy and keeping him long-term, GM, vice president, head coach may be on the hot seat. You can only give so much leeway until a change is needed. So I had this weird premonition about, and we'll switch the thing from the Brandon Aiyuk. Let me get off of this. Oh, let me see what this is. And that's a good question. They gave me a D because I reached up to go grab Kingsley, which is bullcrap because he should be one of the top. He's one of the top tackles in this league anyway. So, in my opinion. All right. So that was the hypothetical trade from Bill Barnwell over at ESPN, and we wanted to see how it kind of like fared out. Who would have been kind of like available from the PFF's top players list and things like that. So this is a great question. Let me bring this back up from my boy Oscar. So I have this weird feeling about Brock Purdy, and y'all know I love me some Brock Purdy, right? I think he's great. I think he's dynamic. And I think he's fun to watch. I think he's a leader. I think he's all of those things above. There's only one thing that he couldn't do, and it's beat Patrick Mahomes. And the last quarterback that couldn't beat Patrick Mahomes, he not even in the league. Like, it's crazy, right? And so, like, when I look at Brock Purdy and I say to myself, it will be crazy if the 49ers like moved on from a guy like Brock. It wouldn't make any sense other than financial. And just hear me out, because I'm not saying that the Niners should move on from Brock Purdy or anything like that. But I'm just looking at this team, and I'm looking at the salary cap, and I'm looking at the players, and I'm looking at their top 51, and I'm saying, man, they got a lot of money on the books. There's a possibility they draft another quarterback, or they keep the quarterback room just cheap. They just keep it cheap, because if they keep the roster stacked, they probably can win. And I'm not saying that Brock doesn't make them better, but they probably have a good chance of winning, because even Jimmy Garoppolo almost won the Super Bowl, right? He almost did. Overthrows Emmanuel Sanders and whatever. But it was Patrick Mahomes. They just couldn't beat Patrick Mahomes. Like, that's what it came down to. So the Niners just need to get rid of Patrick Mahomes. Like, they need to find a way to just like make sure they don't play him. And I think Brock would have been a Super Bowl champion. Jimmy Garoppolo would have been a Super Bowl champion. We might not even have Brock if there was no Patrick Mahomes. And so it's like crazy. But the Niners can find a way. And I'm not saying that they're not going to pay Brock, because they better. He's the franchise guy. But once you pay the quarterback the franchise dollar, it's almost impossible. It's going to be almost impossible to keep your core together unless Brock is the next Patrick Mahomes. And so when you look at Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes is elite. There's no other elite quarterback, and yeah, I'm saying it, other than Patrick Mahomes. Josh Allen not elite, Lamar Jackson not elite. None of them, because there's only one. Because the elite guy got the chips. And you can't tell me that Kansas City had great teams, players. I don't think there was a roster better than San Francisco 49ers last year, from the offensive side to the defensive side. Full roster, don't think there was a roster better than the San Francisco 49ers. But the difference was Kansas City had two players, maybe even three, maybe even four, that were just game-changing, elite, and made a play out of no play type of plays. And I could give you the four. I could give you the four. It starts with Patrick Mahomes. Then you can go stay on the offensive side, and you can go to Travis Kelce. He's still elite. I don't care what anybody says. And then on the defensive side is Chris Jones and L'Jarius Sneed. It's so mind-boggling that them 4 players were the ones that stood out. And Kansas City didn't look good the whole Super Bowl. So it was just like, oh my God. But when those players' numbers were called, they made a play. Now, I'm not saying that Brock isn't the future, because I believe Brock Purdy is the franchise guy. And I'm not saying that Brock doesn't have elite skills and can't be in that elite conversation. I think there's 2 tiers of the elite conversation. I think it's Patrick Mahomes, who's super elite, and then there's the elite. And I think Brock is entering that tier. I feel like Brock is elite. I just do. I feel like there aren't many quarterbacks that can do what Brock Purdy does. And that's consistently find ways to win games. It just came down to beating Patrick Mahomes. And you're right. There's not too many quarterbacks can beat Patrick Mahomes. And he said, like Vince says, bro, no one beats Mahomes. I get it. Trust me. I understand that. That's what separates him from everybody else. That's my only point. I don't even think Burrow is elite. But you know what? I could put him in that category, Kylie. My apologies. You're right. Burrow is elite. But you know the difference between Burrows and Mahomes? The difference is Burrow can't stay healthy. Which would negate some of his eliteness. It's so stupid, right? Can you imagine if Burrow stayed healthy? That AFC, because Burrows is the only guy I think that could beat Patrick Mahomes. There it is. Bam. There it is. There it is. Not only did he beat Patrick Mahomes, that's my point. That's it. So I give you 2. I give that Burrow is in that category. But you know what was messing me up from Burrow? He can't stay healthy, and so you're not seeing him consistently like you see Patrick Mahomes. Hey, Patrick Mahomes. Let's have this conversation. Who are the last quarterbacks to win Super Bowls? The last 4 times. Patrick got 3, right? I think Matthew Stafford got 1. It's all I'm saying is I think Brock is in a different. I know people don't like to use the term elite, but I think Brock is in that category. But then there's super elite. I think it's Patrick Mahomes, maybe Joe Burrows, and then there's that elite tier. And then it's the great tier. I feel like Brock should be above that great tier. And I'm not saying that because he's a 49ers quarterback, but the dude does win games. He does win games. Even when his team isn't having great games, even when the defense doesn't show up, he's finding ways to win games, but he's still tapping in to his ability to play the sport. Like he's still young. So it is what it is. Speaking of elite, let's start talking about some of these prospects, all right? Because I got a little bit more time. So he says, Marty Morris says, Wayne, what do Purdy have to go to be elite? So that's a great question, right? And so, I mean, number one, he got to find a way to win that big game or take down the elite. I'm always the type of person that, like, if you beat the best, you become the best. So if he beats the best. Yeah, but so Corey, you got a great question. Jimmy did win games, but you can't tell me that Jimmy Garoppolo is a better quarterback than Brock Purdy. Like, the numbers don't even say Jimmy Garoppolo was a better quarterback than Brock. It's not about Brock Purdy just being able to win games. He's also putting up numbers. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's also putting up numbers. He still has a lot of stuff he has to work on, but he's putting up good numbers. He is. So all I'm saying is, you know, and you're right, Jimmy did win games. You know what I'm saying? Jimmy did win games. It's not the only measure that I'm using. I'm just saying Purdy finds ways to win games. Like, that's what makes quarterbacks elite. That's what I thought made them elite, right? And in big games too, which Jimmy did. And then they both lost in the Super Bowl. But statistically, Purdy's a better quarterback. You know what I mean? Like I just think Purdy's a better quarterback than Jimmy Garoppolo, and that happens, right? Like Jimmy came in the league. You ain't really know much about Jimmy. We came from Eastern Illinois, if I'm not mistaken. That's where we went to school. You didn't know much about him. Went to the Patriots, sat behind Tom Brady. Cool. Every time he came in, he got hurt. Literally. When Brock came in the game, we didn't know nothing about him coming out of college neither. Right? Unless you really follow Iowa State. And if you did, Brock came in the league. And the moment he came in, it was like a breath of fresh air for the San Francisco 49ers. They're different. But I think Brock, it's okay to say that Brock is better than Jimmy. Or if you believe Jimmy is better than Brock, that's fine too. If you want to say it's because Purdy got better weapons, that's fine too. I'm just saying, like, to be the best, you got to beat the best. Mark, that's a great question. So you got to win a Super Bowl to be elite. I feel like you got to beat the best to be elite. I just don't feel like a lot of people can beat the best, which is Kansas City. In my opinion. That's what I think. But I think it will come a time where they fall. I mean, it was so close. Niners were so close. There's so many factors you could blame in that game. So close, but they were so close the first time. And it's crazy because think about this though, right? If Jimmy Garoppolo and the 49ers in 2019 would have defeated the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl, we wouldn't even be talking about Brock Purdy. You know what I'm saying? Like, we wouldn't even be talking about Brock Purdy. And that's just my thing, because I think Jimmy Garoppolo would, if healthy, would still be the quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers. But for some reason, he couldn't do it. Oh, I like this clapback. Marino played a long time and put up elite numbers. I don't think Phillip Rivers was elite, but you could say he was elite. I think elite comes down to how, you know, how you whatever you want. Marino was elite, but it was so it just seemed like quarterbacking was different during those times. Just to me, it just seemed like quarterback was different in those times. JC Montana says legendary and then elite. I don't even know how to become legendary. You put Patrick Mahomes legendary already? That's dope. Eli beat yeah, it's crazy. I think Eli was better than Peyton Manning. When it counts the most, he found a way to win. It all depends on how you define elite. It all depends on how you define it. That's it. Everybody defines it different. There's no one definition for elite, because we can move the goalposts for just about everybody. Peyton Manning put up way better numbers and had an elite career, but when it came down to them Super Bowls, Eli got two of them things. I don't know. That's just me. Y'all call me crazy or whatever, but when it comes to Brock Purdy, I think he's on that trajectory of what y'all define an elite as. To me, I see greatness from him. And when it comes to the San Francisco 49ers, the question is, are they willing to pay for it? Because if so, who was I listening to? If so, a lot of that money is going to be tied up. And when you have money tied up into your quarterback for several years, it just changes the dichotomy of what you can do with the rest of the offense. So at some point, as a 49er fan, we're going to have to get used to like not having all the bells and whistles. Like at some point, like, you know what I mean? Like at some point, we're going to have to get used to that. You know, I'm just saying, in the Super Bowls, he was elite. How about that? As far as the career, Eli even played longer, but he didn't put up the great numbers as Peyton Manning. Eli also didn't have an offensive line like Peyton Manning, and I felt like the Giants at the time, they were built off the defense. The defense definitely helped them out a lot. You know, would you compare Eli to like Brock Purdy, kind of, sort of, in that way? You know, y'all can put as many quarterbacks in there as you want. Quarterbacks that win Super Bowls, they get a little different talk to them. Like, you know what I mean? They get a little different talk. You talk about Nick Foles came into the right situation. You know, in my opinion, it's just my opinion though. Y'all ain't gotta like it. You know, it's all love for me. But whoever you deem elite, and whoever I think is elite, which Brock Purdy I feel like is in that tier. The question is, are the Niners going to be willing to pay him to be the franchise? And that's where it's going to come down, and that is what will hurt the team. And that's why the San Francisco 49ers need to find a way to get this draft right, okay? And that's what we're going to get to. So let's start. You know, I got to start with my favorite position on offense, which is running back. So we're going to go with the running back. So I got 5 running backs I want y'all to kind of like just keep an eye open for. I know you don't want the 49ers to draft a running back. I get it. Trust me, I understand. But these are guys that I think that could come into the San Francisco 49ers and just help make a difference. Okay? And so I really went through my thought processing on picking some of these positions, and I said to myself, okay, cool. Now, I know this is not a need. I understand that the Niners don't need a running back, but they will draft one, or they will get one undrafted. It happens every year. I understand that we need offensive tackle, offensive line, offensive guard, offensive line, tight end, wide receiver, offensive line. I get it. I get all 10 picks. I get 7 of the 10 picks need to be offensive line. I get it. Trust me. I'm 100% fan of that. I promise. I promise. He said don't draft a running back in the 3rd. That is too funny. But here's the cool thing about the running backs in this draft. I think that the running backs that would literally be kind of like higher up will get pushed back to the 6th or 7th round. So this can work in the San Francisco 49ers favor. Now, here are my top 5. I'll go backwards. So I'm going to go 5 to 1. So Frank Gore Jr., you know, I don't know what the issue is and why scouts or the draft analysis people out there aren't seeing much more. I don't know what tape they watch, but the tape that I'm watching, this kid is dynamic. Like, and I get it, downhill runner, but he has the speed to get outside as well. And I mean, if you didn't watch any Southern Mississippi games, which I don't think anybody did, but if you didn't watch any and you watched the East-West Shrine game, oh my gosh, like, how did he do that? How did he, amongst the elite of the college in that game, rush for over 300 yards? Just somebody help me. Now, the only issue to me with Frank Gore Jr. is the tread on the tires, because I started to say, like, is this kid been overutilized? And I'm like, yo, this kid got mad carries, mad touches, attempts, mad yard. Like, this kid has a lot of workload on him, but he's still young. So Frank Gore Jr. Would be my number 5. There's a running back out of Alabama named Jace McClellan. And I know he dealt with some injuries, okay, and I understand, but he was pretty dang good. And if you watch the Michigan-Alabama game, like, he was trying to help keep Alabama in the game. Like, it was really on him. Alabama couldn't really get going, but Jace McClellan was the one, and Michigan had like the number 1 run defense in college football, and this kid balled out. So when he's healthy, he's a tough downhill runner. He would score anytime you get within that 10-yard line. He's getting into the end zone. And so those two, to me, like, those would be 2 guys I can see Kyle Shanahan grabbing, snatching up. My number 3 would be Blake Watson out of Memphis, 4.39 guy, athletic, strong, another a guy that can score down there on the goal line with power, can catch out of the backfield. So listen for Blake Watson out of Memphis. My number 3, you already know, is Isaac Guerrero out of Louisville. I know he's not getting a lot of talk. I know but what I like what I watched from him. I do. And I like the speed factor, 4.33 guy. Out of the backfield, you can utilize him on special teams. It would be cool to see a running back on kickoff return. It just gives me them Dexter Carter days, man. Like, give me a running back there that can make people miss. And then there's Jalen Wright, which will be my number 1. Jalen Wright, running back out of Tennessee, can catch out of the backfield as well. And all these guys can catch out of the backfield. You know what I'm saying? All these dudes can catch out of the backfield. Purdue, you like Tyrone? I like that. You like Tyrone? Is it Tyrone Tracy? I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but the kid from Purdue, I think I got him right. I might have him wrong. I might be talking about somebody totally different. So look, I can see the Niners going running backs. Let's go tight ends next. My boy Kali says, Wayne, were you talking about tight ends? Do you like Theo Johnson? I'm going to talk about the tight ends right now. Let's talk about Theo Johnson. So my top 5 tight ends. Hold on, I didn't get a chance to write these down, so give me a second. These are in my phone. And that's a good question. I do like Theo Johnson. He's in my top 5 easily. 4.5 guy, 4.54. I think he ran off the top of my head. All right, so here are my top 5 tight ends. So I'll start with 5. It's Tip Raymond out of Illinois. He's not the best block. He's big. He's strong. He can catch. That's what I like. I like the tall guys. I would like for us to get a tall tight end. I don't know why we don't want tall tight ends anymore, but it's just I don't get it. I would like to get a tall tight end that can make some type of circus catches. So my number 5 is Tip Raymond out of Illinois. My number 4, it's tough to put him number 4, but that means the other 3 guys I got ahead of him are just better. But it's Jarrett Wiley, 6'8", out of TCU. I broke him down on the B.A.M show. I don't understand why people aren't talking about him. He's baby Kelsey. Like he's not gonna block, but he can catch. He can get yak. He can get open. Like that's the guy I like really the most. Jarrett Wiley. Theo Johnson is my number 3 because now you're getting a 4.5 guy with a little bit of speed. You can line him up in the backfield. He could do so many different things. Now I know he doesn't have any runs under his belt, but you can line him up and motion him out some things, just getting him to do so many different types of things. But his ability to catch the ball underneath and move is what I really like. It's another tall guy, very athletic. Theo Johnson would be a great prospect for the San Francisco 49ers. Jatavian Sanders out of Texas. Again, you're not going to these 4 guys aren't going to be great blocking tight ends, but they will be great weapons for the San Francisco 49ers, okay? And so Jatavian Sanders, you already know, he's not a super fast dude, but man, he's quick, and if he can get the ball in his hands, it's like open season for him. He will find a way to get away from the tackles. I think that's what I like about Jatavian Sanders the most. Definitely a playmaker. My number 1 tight end is Ben Sinnott from Kansas State. I don't know. He must be boring, but he's hella athletic, has a great vert. He's pretty decent in speed, has a really good, really quick 10-yard split. I don't know why he's not being talked about, and he's a really good blocking and pass catching tight end. He's probably more of the balance of what George Kittle does. So it would be really cool to get another guy like Kittle here if you got other tight ends that could do other things. You know what I'm saying? So those are my tight ends. I don't know why people don't like Ben. A lot of people aren't talking about him. Great one. You mentioned the good. He's my number 6 tight end. He didn't make my top 5. He's my number 6. Wait a minute. This is for the 49ers. These are for the 49ers. Jaheim Bell is my number 6, and I have some other guys too as well. But Jaheim Bell, to me, is it fair to say he's like a poor man Jatavian Sanders, but he's shorter? He's a little shorter than Jatavian Sanders, but I feel like they kind of like the same player, in my opinion. You know what I mean? If y'all ain't watched Ben Sinnott play football, please go watch him. Please. Like, you will love Ben Sinnott from Kansas State. All right? You will love Ben Sinnott from Kansas State. Let's stick with the pass-catching weapons, and we'll end where we think that the Niners need the most. All right, so my top 5 wide receivers for the San Francisco 49ers, not including a trade. Okay, so not including a trade. 49er media, Tanner McLaughlin is dope. I have him and Tip Raymond like neck and neck, but Tanner is a better blocking tight end. It's interesting. Like, he's from Arizona. He's dope as well. You guys are on it. I love that you guys do your homework. All right, wide receivers, number 5, Luke McCaffrey from Rice. Look, the kid's only played wide receiver for 2 years, but he's tough. There were some plays I watched him take hits and just get up, but hold on to the ball. I watched him make a circus catch with one hand, with the ball going to the ground, take a hit to the back of the head, and get up. Like I just think he's really tough. But what I really like about the kid is he's 6'2", he has decent speed, and he will be a monster in the slot for Kyle Shanahan. And I got a 4th round grade on him. So at the end of the day, if the Niners are looking to get a receiver with some value a little bit later on in the draft where they don't have to spend like a top 100 pick, they can look for a guy like Luke McCaffrey, who I think you can automatically, like, if he, he's got to make the roster, but get him on special teams, get him out there. Let him do what he does. Let him show off his athleticism. Let him show off his speed. Let him show off the things that he's great at. And I could see him finding a way on this roster. And I feel like he would be a good wide receiver for the San Francisco 49ers. So Luke McCaffrey is my number 5. Javon Baker out of UCF. You guys have been throwing me names, different wide receivers like Coker and some other guys saying there's something about Javon Baker. I don't have a comp for him. He's 6'1" with a catch radius out of this world. He's a jump ball guy. He can run the X. He could play the X. He could play the Y. I don't think he'll do too much Z work as far as running out of the backfield and going in motion and all that crap. I don't think that's him, but he can line up in the slot. He can line up outside. This is a kid that I think that the 49ers, they had a top visit with him. If the 49ers look to get some value, I think I had a 3rd round grade on him. I think the 49ers could get a really good wide receiver out of Javon Baker, bring him into this room. Number 3, Roman Wilson out of Michigan. Listen, it's tough because I wanted to make sure I got not only did I want to get a top slot receiver in my top 5, I wanted to get the best blocking type slot receiver in my top 5. And when I look at Roman Wilson, he does the dirty work, and he doesn't mind doing the dirty work, and he doesn't mind being option 2, option 3, option 4. If you get the ball in his hand, he's going to be a problem. I know a lot of people like Ricky Purcell out of Florida, and I get it. His footwork is phenomenal. I see him. He's great. But then when you do the run game, he's going to be insignificant. He's not one of your great blocking wide receivers. And we know for the 49ers, one of the ways that they make this daggone roster as a wide receiver is to be able to block. Okay, I think that's super important. So check out Roman Wilson out of Michigan. All right. The production isn't going to be as high as you guys like from these other wide receivers because Michigan did a lot. They ran the ball a lot. Very pro style offense. They made sure they ran the ball. And that is, my friends, why I like Roman Wilson so much, because I know that the 49ers are going to get back to running the goddamn ball. Plus, he has some speed. He's a 4-3 guy. All right. Here we go. Xavier Leggett or Leggett. I think it's Leggett. However you pronounce it, out of South Carolina. And Duke could run the route tree. And he's speedy. Great catch radius. He's just a monster. For me, I love Xavier out of South Carolina. I know the comps to him and DK Metcalf are there. But, I think he's a better wide receiver than DK Metcalf coming out of college. Please don't take my words, Seattle Seahawks fans, and misconstrue them. Coming out of college, I think Xavier Leggett is a better prospect, but DK Metcalf is a problem in the NFL. He definitely blossomed into what he is. You get speed from him, you get a big catch radius from Xavier, and then there's Adonai or AD Mitchell out of Texas. And I think that he will be available for the 49ers unless a team decides to bump up and get him. You know what I'm saying? Because it's going to be those 2 receivers from Texas. You got Xavier Worthy. You got AD Mitchell. People sleeping on Jordan Whittington as well. But Adonai Mitchell would be... It's not a big body wide receiver. But man, I just see the fade routes, him winning on the fade routes. He would be a problem. I think AD Mitchell would be a problem. And if the Niners can somehow get him, whew, that wide receiving core would be too legit to quit, right? Too legit to quit. So those are my top 5 wide receivers. So we did running backs. I'm not going to do quarterbacks, but I will give you some quarterbacks that I think the 49ers could look into. Listen, I know that they're probably not going to draft a quarterback, but Jordan Travis is the quarterback out of Florida State. I know he's coming off the injury. He would be the one that I feel like would fit really well. Then there's Devin Leary out of Kentucky. He would be my number 2. And then Slovis out of BYU. So those are the 3 quarterbacks. There's 3. I don't really have a top 5 because, I mean, call Meeker. I want Michael Penix Jr. or JJ McCarthy. But I know we're not going to get those guys. But though they would be there. But those would be 2 guys I want. But Kevin Slovis, I think that's his first name. Slovis is his last name. Leary out of Kentucky. Slovis out of BYU. Check out some of those dudes, man. So, Michael, you like Sam Hartman. I think Sam Hartman, he turned me off at the Senior Bowl. He turned me off at the Senior Bowl. I'm sorry. He did. And I didn't think he would, but he didn't look good. None of the quarterbacks really look good at the Senior Bowl. I will say that. All right, let's get to these guards. So, we'll go guards. Let's go centers. Do I got my centers in here? We'll go centers, guards, tackles. All right, so centers. I got 5. I got my 5. It's JPJ for me because of his athleticism, his power, his ability to play multiple positions on the offensive line. I think you get him in here as a center, but you could kick him into guard right away. And he doesn't need any type of transition time or any. He will come in and be magnificent right away. Like, he's built to play offensive line. I know he's young, but he's built to play. He's a man's man. Met him at the Senior Bowl. Jackson Powers Johnson would be my number 1. Number 2 would be Zach Frazier out of West Virginia. A lot of people, he might even fit the system even better than JPJ. I just like overall, I think JPJ is a better player. But again, Zach Frazier can not only be a good center, he would be a great guard in the NFL. Natural center, though, Cedric Van Pran Granger out of Georgia would probably be the best fit for Kyle Shanahan's offense. Literally the best fit for Kyle Shanahan's offense, in my opinion. So he would be my number 3. Number 4, Bo Limmer out of Arkansas. Again, now you're getting mean up front from the center position, but us also be smart. So you want that. And then Tanner Bortolini out of Wisconsin, probably the most athletic center to me in this draft. And I'm sorry, because the centers have to be able to move, right? Especially in Kyle Shanahan's offense. They're trying to get to these extra the extra levels that, they're trying to get to the second level. They're directing what's going on. This is what you want, right? So I think Tanner Bortolini is going to have some, he's going to have some good value. He would have good value for the San Francisco 49ers. I see some of your questions out there. So I don't have him as a center, Collie, but he may be the best center if he played center. So here's the thing about Graham Barton out of Duke, potentially is like the best offensive lineman in this draft. He's not the best tackle. He's not the best guard. He's not the best center, but he could play all of them, and it just makes his value. See how I be thinking? It just makes his value like the best. But I have him as a tackle guard. I have him more as a guard. I just don't think that the 49ers are going to be able to get him. How about that? I think he would be out of their range. You know what I mean? That's just, I think that Dallas might snatch him up. I like to say, a lot of people talking about Zach Frazier out of West Virginia. Yeah, I love him. I love him a lot. You ain't never lied. But if you do have Graham Barton as a center, he would be my number 1 center over JPJ. But he's not a natural center, but I believe he should play guard in the NFL. That's where I would have him. Speaking of guards, let's go to the guards. Let's change the guards. Let's get to the guards. So you're not going to like my guards. I can tell you that right now. You're not going to like my guards. All right, here we go. Number 5. I was supposed to go backwards to 5 to 1. Here we go. Number 5, Zach Zenner out of Michigan, coming off the injury. This could be a nice valued pick for the Niners. They don't need a guard right now, but they can get a top. I can tell you right now, if Zach Zenner didn't tear the ligaments in both of his knees, like if he didn't tear anything, he would probably be the top guard coming out of the draft. You look at Michigan's offensive line, they rushed for the most yards. Their quarterback was least amount sacked. Like that offensive line is stout together, but Zach Zenner definitely stood out. So a lot of people are sleeping on him because he didn't, there's no combine, there's no pro day, there's none of that. So you're not seeing his name, but Zach Zenner would be a steal for the Niners if they could get him round 4, maybe round 5 if he's still there. So check out Zach Zenner. I think Zach Zenner would be a good. Cooper Beebe out of Kansas State, another player from Kansas State. Cooper Beebe can play the whole offensive line, literally from the left tackle to the right tackle. Like he can play all 5 spots. You know how smart you got to be to play all 5 spots well and still end up with a great grade. Like that's tough. Cooper Beebe, believe it or not, might be a little bit undersized, but I like him. And I think he would fit this athletic type of build for the San Francisco 49ers. They like their offensive linemen to be able to move. It comes down to 10-yard splits and moving laterally, 3-cone drill, like all of that stuff. Like how quick is their footwork? How accurate and stuff can they get out from their stance and get to that second level, man? And that's what Kyle wants. Cooper Beebe also ran well. I like him. Now, if you want to know my mean guys, I don't get the meanness from Cooper Beebe, but mean. Here we go. Number 3, Christian Mahogany. I understand he's 6'2". I don't care. Christian Mahogany out of Boston College. You add some meanness to this offensive line. That would be so great. Now you can change the identity of the offensive line, because I feel like it's Trent Williams mean, and even his mean is a little different. But this is straight. These are bullies. I just want, and then Trent's a bully. Let me not disrespect my boy Trent Williams. He's a bully. But I feel like the rest of the line doesn't match Trent's bullyism. But these guys, Christian Mahogany, number 3, Mason McCormick from South Dakota State. Look, you can let Mike Andrews fool you. The tape don't lie. I don't know what tape he was watching, but the tape don't lie. I want somebody to put their helmet in somebody's chest and just take them off the football field. Like that's Mason McCormick. Like Mason McCormick is that mean dude. He can also kick in and play elsewhere in the offensive line. But my number 1 guard, 6'2", 300 plus pound, Christian Haynes out of UConn. I don't care if he went to UConn. It doesn't matter, because at the Senior Bowl he was still mean. So if he gets to the Senior Bowl and he continues to play, that's how he plays. What do I mean by mean? They're maulers, man. They are tough, and they are trying to push that defender so far away from the football field it isn't funny. I like Mike be catching strays on the show, right? I like Christian Haynes. That's what happens when you do a show at 4 p.m. and Mike not on this show, so he's got to get it. Christian Haynes would be my number 1 guard for the San Francisco 49ers. And if you can add him on to that right side, and just remember, just remember, I believe Aaron Banks will be a free agent next year, and John Feliciano will be a free agent next year if he's playing right guard. So the Niners again trying to address 2025. Okay, trying to address 2025. So just remember that. All right. Now we got to get to the tackles and we'll dip up out of here. So thank y'all so much, man, for rocking out. I see a couple of questions. If they're here, I'll try to address them. If you have some questions, send them. I can spend a few minutes on questions or whatnot about the draft or about the offense. Don't forget to participate in the poll question as well. I truly would appreciate that. And let's get to the tackles. This is where it gets so hard because it comes down I don't want. This can't be preference because the Niners need to get this pick right. They need to get the tackle right. Because the Niners draft tackles. I see your question, Dawn. I got you. The Niners draft tackles. Don't get it twisted. But for some reason, they just don't get. They don't develop. They don't manifest into what you hope that they do. So they have to always find ways to replenish, and the Niners draft tackles and they're serviceable, and then they may move on or things or whatnot. And so I don't know if the Niners are looking to draft a left tackle or a right tackle. They may try to draft 2 tackles. It's weird. But they definitely need to address the tackle position. And it's not a shot at anybody, but the Niners, if you say what was the weakest link on the offensive line, it's to me, it's from the center to the right side. I don't think the center was the weakest link. I don't even think the right tackle was the weakest link. But that guard position was weird. So they might be looking for a guy that could play tackle that they could kick into guard. And so it's crazy because I'm saying to myself, all right, so I'm going to give you 5 tackles just off the top of my head. I'm not even going to go off my list. I'm going to give you 5 tackles off the top of my head. I'm not going to put them in any order because it's going to come down to the 49ers, and I don't know. I don't know how they look at it. What's the word? Versatility. That's kind of like the Niners thing on that offensive line. I don't know if that's a Chris Forrester thing. But I do like Kingsley Salamatea. It took me a minute, but the kid is big, and the kid is mean, and the kid is strong. He's out of BYU. I like him a lot. He can play on the left side. He could play on the right side. That would be a nice pickup for the San Francisco 49ers. Tyler Guyton out of Oklahoma. I know he doesn't have the same amount. He doesn't have a lot of snaps and stuff, but he's strong and he's athletic. And last time I checked, the Niners want athleticism up there on that front. Hey, Miss Sen. And so, in my opinion, Tyler Guyton, 6'7", 327 out of Oklahoma would be a stud. I believe he would be available for the 49ers at 31 if they are looking to address at 31. Roger Rosengarten, right tackle from Washington. Now, this is the kid that protect the blind side for left-handed quarterback Michael Penix Jr. Okay, the blind side. Thought he played well. The fact that he's out there and he's training with Joe Staley, and you got to remember, like, he is a zone tackle. There's your power gap type of tackles, and there's the ones that can move. And guess what he can do? He can move. So Roger Rosengarten would be a nice prospect for the San Francisco 49ers. These are all guys that I don't think would have to come in and start week 1. But they will be able to turn up at some point throughout their career with the San Francisco 49ers. Jordan Morgan out of Arizona. So why am I picking Jordan Morgan? One, I think he's going to be kicked in to play guard, but he can play tackle. Now, he predominantly played on the left side. But I don't know why he's not being talked about more, because he barely gave up any pressures to some top-tier talent in college. Jordan Morgan is a problem. Now, I know he doesn't have the longest arms for full extension, but he could play tackle, and he could potentially play left tackle. But guess where else he plays? He could play guard. You could kick him into guard, and he can be a guard tackle. It's versatile combo type of offensive lineman for the San Francisco 49ers. And then I know this is a long shot. I know this is never going to happen. But if the Niners decided to move up in the first round to get an offensive tackle, it has to be Troy Fuo Tanu from Washington. Both of those tackles to me, and people got him kicking him in to play guard. Interesting, right? So those would be my top 5 tackles. Now, I didn't talk about Graham Barton because I think he'll be. I think his versatility would allow him to be scooped up so fast from like a team like the Cowboys. You got to think about the teams that draft offensive linemen. They really draft offensive linemen. They do their due diligence on offensive linemen. He just seems like a Cowboy to me. So those are my top offensive guys. I hope I didn't miss a position or anything like that. I agree with you. Morgan would be a perfect fit scheme. He does have short arms though, Pete. That's what I said. That's why I said that he would probably be kicked in to play guard originally, but the fact he is a natural tackle, that arm thing is crazy because with the tackles, so people are like, well, what's the arm? You want them to have it like a minimum of 34-inch arms because you want those guys' arms to be able to get full extension because that's the first push, right? You push, you're not holding, so you're trying to push those guys, full extending your arms and just keep them, off your quarterback, so the arm thing can't come into play. Dawn wants to know about Bo Nix from Oregon. He is a veteran quarterback. He's probably one of the older guys in the draft. He's seasoned, right? And so he would actually be, to me, a good prospect for the San Francisco 49ers because now you got a guy that's played a lot of football in college. It's kind of like Brock. Brock played a lot of football in college. We see now when you go from a guy that didn't play a lot of football in college, Trey Lance, to a guy that played a lot of football in college in Brock Purdy, and you see that it made a huge significant difference. Now, I think they got different skill sets, and I think there were different plays calls ran for both of those two different quarterbacks. But my whole point is experience sometimes is the good teacher, right? Like sometimes experience is it. And Bo Nix definitely has it. He's a winning quarterback from Oregon. But I think he's going to get picked up by one of those like teams like later. Like I can see him becoming a Raider or like, and it's crazy, right? Like guys that still need quarterbacks. So I just don't think the Niners, the reason why, like I would like it, him and Michael Penix Jr. in that same tier for me. They're both older quarterbacks. Both older quarterbacks, in my opinion. So that's a good question. So I like Bo Nix. Actually, I got a chance to talk to him too, as well at the Senior Bowls. I think is he married? He's either getting married or he was married or he's married already. I can't remember, but I remember him talking about his way. I think he's married already, if I'm not mistaken. But like again, he is an older quarterback. Didn't always play there at Oregon. Didn't start there, but definitely finished his career there. He's been around. Sam Hartman is another one that's kind of like a journeyman in college. So some people like Sam Hartman. We're going to talk about the defense on Wednesday. That's going to be a fun episode because the defense is, oh my gosh, that's kind of like where we live. 51% of you said that with the 49ers, if you think the 49ers should address tackle position first. So, like, you know what makes that hard or difficult? Excuse me, I only say we're hard. You know what makes that difficult? Like, who's the tackle? Who's the tackle? Comment in the comment section, not of the live chat, but on the comment section of this show. Who is the tackle that you want the 49ers to draft? Who is that tackle? I'm curious to know. I can't wait to read the comments. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. We're going to be back at 4 p.m. with the B.A.M show by myself, Mike Andrews from Nothing But Niners. We got a lot of draft day coverage coming. We're doing our final mock draft on today. It's going to be crazy. I can't wait to see what Mike's got cooking. All right. Love you guys, man. Stay up, stay faithful, and for sure, always keep it nitty gritty, man. We out this joint. Peace out. I be sipping gold bar, whiskey on the rocks, and the 24 karat gold 9 watch, singing with my 7-1 Chevy B, tipping.
I be sipping gold bar, whiskey on the rocks, and a 24 karat gold 9 watch. My 7-1 Chevy B, tipping non-stop, sounding like Trent Williams on the block. So you know we can't stop, we be banging through your speakers. WayneBreezie on the field or in the bleachers. You can tune into my show and I'm a teacher. WayneBreezie, the 4-9 preacher.